Relationship advice. Update: my best friend wants me to work with my offender on her wedding. Original story. I have a best friend, we'll call her Tina, who I've known most of my life. We have had a strong friendship from middle school all the way until we graduated from the same college. We have always been there for each other, and I tell her pretty much everything. Back in junior year of high school, a guy, we'll call him Rod, forced me at a house party. He never apologized for it, and it put me in a deep downward spiral to the point where I almost wanted to drop out in order to never see his face again. I told Tina about it, and she did everything she could to support me. Fast forward to early 2020, Tina and her boyfriend, Josh, announced that they were getting engaged, and Tina wanted me to be the maid of honor. I was beyond excited to do it. We've always talked about being each other's maids of honor. There was another detail though. Josh had a similar friendship history with his best man, and they thought it would be adorable if the maid of honor and best man worked together on everything, and were their own second package on their wedding day. I guess it was their way of making us feel a little more excited for weddings of our own. I found out that the best man was going to be Rod, and that he and Josh remained best friends after high school. I thought Rod was just in the friend group, but it turns out they were as close as could be. My heart sunk, and I simply didn't know how to respond. They expected us to work together and be together the whole wedding process, and that sounded like literal hell. I started thinking about whether Tina never told Josh, or that Josh heard and just didn't care. All I know is that I was having second thoughts about the wedding after that. I texted Tina about my concerns with Rod coming in the most polite way possible, and she sent me this in reply. I know about what happened with you guys back in the day, but Rod seems to be a great guy now. It would just really mean a lot if you can push that memory away for the duration of this. Please, just trust me. I didn't know how to respond to this, and luckily the wedding planning process has been at a halt since COVID. I haven't responded to her since that text, but now this has really been bugging me. Should I just say no? It would probably break her heart, but I just don't know if I can handle working with my offender. Help? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Say no. If she wants you to do this, she is not your friend, period. If my fiancé was friends with someone who forced my friend, I would be making an ultimatum that the friendship with the offender ends. Good Lord, no, do not feel bad about this. I am angry on your behalf. I don't knowingly associate with offenders, and I sure as heck wouldn't marry someone who knowingly does as well. Let alone my best friend's attacker. What the actual hell kind of people are these? 100%. You should say no. Her opinion off, he seems like a great guy now, and, just trust me, is so unbelievably inconsiderate and neglects the impact of what Rod has done to you. No friend should ever put you even in a position like this, and it is well within reason to politely say no and hold your ground. I feel so strongly I'm adding another this, plus an upvote. She is completely disrespecting you, and the trauma and pain you've been through. She doesn't give a crap about the trust you have placed in her. You really want to subject yourself to spending time, possibly alone, with your attacker, for a friend like that? Let alone, at all? Don't do it. She clearly doesn't give a damn about your feelings. You need to distance yourself from the feeling of obligation you have, and your desire to please her. She's absolutely not worth it. She does not care about you the way she should, and it is not worth it to even see Rod, let alone work with him. I would simply text her and say, no, this is not okay, he forced me. The situation she's putting you in is totally messed up. And now for the update. First of all, thank you so much for the support on my first post. I did not expect it to gain that much attention. I guess a lot happened since then? I don't know if it's even been a week yet. But this is going to change my life, perhaps for the better. There were hundreds of comments, and I'd thought I'd address a few questions regarding the incident itself. I don't appreciate how some of these were asked, but I'll share anyway for the sake of clarifying things. 1. Was I under the influence? Yes, but I remember vividly saying no. I was drunk enough to have all my strength and mobility wonky, but I didn't black out or anything. The force he used on me didn't seem that of someone who was drunk. He looked completely sober, but I could be wrong. I remember a couple of times when I was trying to lift myself off the bed, and he would push me back down. I remember the expression on his face. Like you guys said, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. That's all I'm willing to share for now. The only person who knows all the details is Tina. Is it bad that I wish she knew nothing now? Maybe it would hurt less. 2. Why didn't I report it? Because I saw how that turned out for other girls I knew. I've had a few other friends, not Tina, who have had the same thing happen to them and nothing came out of reporting it, and it made them feel worse. Just the few comments calling me a liar stung, so I can't imagine how I would have felt back as my unstable teen self. Not only that, I was scared of what Rod would do if he found out I had reported him. There was just something about him that made me never want to cross him. Reading all your comments, it seems pretty clear that how Tina was treating me was extremely inconsiderate, and I should find a new friend. Although it was a huge slap in the face, I came to my senses, and believed that I couldn't be around someone who would do that to me. Some of you said to expose them during vows, but that's just not the kind of person I am, and it might not turn out well. A few of you gave me example texts I could send, which I am extremely thankful for, but I decided to send this. I've had time to think about it, and I just can't be your maid of honor anymore. It's so hurtful that you were telling me to pack up my trauma for who knows how long, until your wedding day. I just can't do it. I don't think I will come at all knowing that he's going to be there. I'm sorry. It's pretty weak, but it's probably the meanest text I've ever sent. An hour later, I get a call from Josh. He asked me what was going on with me and Tina, and that she was extremely upset. A part of me snapped and I said, I don't know, what's going on with you making someone who forced me, best man? I don't usually blurt things out like that. He was confused and I repeated myself. He was silent for a few seconds and then asked if he could come over. I was a little wary of the idea, but I said sure. I know, we should be social distancing, but this really needed to be discussed. He comes to my apartment 40 minutes later without Tina. I have never hung out with Josh one-on-one before, it was always with Tina. Josh always had a really cute and sweet personality, and I've always approved of him when it came to dating her. He was really only a friendly acquaintance to me though. We sat down and spoke for over an hour. Tina had told Josh that the reason I wasn't coming to the wedding was that I didn't want to work with Rod. Because I had a crush on him. And thought she was forcing the relationship too much. So basically, she said we had a petty girl fight. My jaw hit the floor and I was fuming. She had obviously never told Josh what Rod did to me. I shared that Rod had forced me back in high school, and that Tina knew about it. I asked if he knew too. He said he didn't, but at one point, Rod did mention that a few crazy witches implicated him of our senior year. This obviously didn't include me, since I only told Tina and a few family members. Josh believed him at the time, but I guess after hearing me say it's starting to dawn on him that his friend was a liar. Here's something that I didn't expect. Josh shared with me that he was forced when he was a kid by an older brother of a friend he had. He said that if he was forced to work with said brother on a wedding, he would absolutely refuse. He apologized heavily on behalf of Tina, but I won't forgive unless she says it herself. I know some of you may think Josh is lying, but I believe him. I could see it by Josh's face and body language that the realization really weighed down on him, and I felt bad. In a way, we were both going through a betrayal. I asked if he was okay to go home, and he said yes. He thanked me for telling him and left. I don't know if I'll stay in touch with him, but I was beyond furious with Tina at this point. I was expecting an angry text coming from her, and sure enough, I got it at like midnight. She went off saying that I'm going to end up destroying their marriage, how could I do that to her, etc. etc. I just pressed the block button and went to bed. Quickest decision ever made. I'm feeling a little down in the dumps right now, yet slightly relieved. I'm going to try to connect with other friends and try to move on from this. If I'm feeling brave enough, I might try to find these crazy witches, and see if we can make a case against Rod. Knowing that there are other victims makes me feel so guilty I want to scream. Sorry it's not too happy of an ending, but I think it might have been more unhappy if I decided to go along with it. Thank you Reddit. Now for some comments. This is a somewhat wonderful update. While disappointed to see your friend, Tina, failing at being a friend, it brings me great pleasure to see Josh is a great human being and you are no longer working with this scumbag named Rod. You just saved yourself a lot of headache and emotional pain, and probably saved Josh from a horrible person. Win-win really. Absolutely. Josh must also be wondering how his fiancée, knowing that he's been a victim too, could ever concoct such an awful plan to put her best friend in close personal contact with her offender. Josh dodged a huge bullet. Now he can clean house and lose Tina and Rod, who are obviously terrible people. I'm livid for you OP. F that noise. Tina showed her true colors and she never told Josh the truth. Josh sounds like a decent guy. You should stay in touch with him, especially since it sounds like in the reckoning with Josh and Tina, he's going to have to clean house, ending toxic friendships. There may be pressure on him to rug sweep, so hearing a voice of reason like yours may be a help. Tina doesn't deserve him, nor does she deserve your friendship. She's a liar and betrayer. She chose to protect an offender, all to not make waves. It wasn't like her fiancé was pressuring her to include Rod. Knowing everything, she made the executive decision to hide the incident and lie about why you backed out of the wedding. Terrible. I wonder if Tina knows or cares about Josh also being forced? She sounds disgusting to be honest. I hope it was okay to share the thing about Josh, since that isn't his real name. I think it's super touching he was upset enough to come get your side of the story. It also says something that he trusts you enough to tell you about his past trauma and listen to your side of the story. I do wonder and worry about Tina though. Not telling your significant other something like that, and saying it's a petty girl fight isn't normal. I can sorta get her not wanting to share your trauma for you, but I feel like this is an instance, he should have known the truth. Also, why does she keep defending Rod? Now for the last story. My stepsister is telling my whole family my boyfriend got her pregnant to make herself feel better. So, I met my 25 female boyfriend Tim, 26 male, 3.5 years ago. We hit it off, he was great and sweet and we get along perfectly. Until I introduced him to my family. My mother had gotten remarried a few months earlier. I like my stepdad and we get along fine. My stepsister Sarah, who is 26 female, and I were friendly but not besties by any means. She is kind of an intense party girl, and being in our 20s, we only saw each other at family events. So, I introduced him to my family, at which point we learned that Sarah used to date Tim when they were 20. It was only a few months, and Tim said they broke up because she made out with another guy at a nightclub while drunk. Sarah got upset and started saying I had to break up with him because it was weird. She called Tim her sloppy seconds, and tried to get our parents to force us to break up. I said no. It had been years since they'd been together, and I didn't even know Sarah when she was dating Tim. I got pretty upset because my family jumped on the bandwagon of saying we should break up. For the past few years at any family gathering Sarah would mention how they used to date, and act like I stole her boyfriend and has been selling that narrative to my family and friends. It became obvious that she was jealous. But I liked Tim, so we just ignored it and kept dating. So now a few years later, Tim and I live together and we've been talking about marriage and stuff, and I recently had a conversation with my mom about how I thought Tim was going to propose, because he's not exactly subtle and we've talked about this for a while. At which point Sarah, who just moved back in with our parents, walked in. She started asking a bunch of invasive questions about our relationship and being weird. Sarah is 4 months pregnant. The father, she said, was some deadbeat guy she'd hooked up with who wants nothing to do with her, but she wants to keep the baby. I'd been making an effort taking her to appointments and offering to help babysit and trying to be excited for her. Until a week ago when my stepdad sent me a long text, saying how I could marry him because he is the real father of Sarah's baby. I was immediately very upset and confronted Tim, who was completely shocked and said Sarah was lying. He said there's no way and he didn't cheat on me, and he would gladly have a paternity test to prove that. Unsure, I asked Sarah for more details about when they slept together, which she says happened a few times. She was shaky, and went back and forth on details. The dates and times don't match up with what I can remember of what Tim and I have been doing. She also said she came to our house to see him, but since COVID, I've been working from home. So, I can't imagine how they managed that. I'm pretty sure now that she's lying to get us to break up, because she's still jealous. But now my family are involved and have been sending me hateful messages saying I need to break up with Tim and let him be with Sarah. She's telling everyone he's in love with her, and I'm keeping him from her. She has no proof and he strictly denied everything. I texted her asking for proof of any of this happening, and she sent me some fake photoshopped screenshots, that I can tell are fake, where she's put Tim's name over a friend's number and pretended he was messaging her. I checked, and the friend all but admitted it to me and tried to laugh it off. She badly photoshopped the timestamps. I actually don't know what to do now. I believe Tim and we are still together, but this has kind of thrown a wedge in everything. Sarah has poisoned my relationship with our parents and my family. I feel sick to my stomach, and Sarah is now saying she won't give me a paternity test. For now, I've cut everyone off except Tim, but I don't know what to do now. Now for the top comments. You can have Tim file a paternity action in court, based on the accusations. Then a court order would force Sarah into admitting that she is lying. Not you can have him, freaking make him. Especially if this is in the US. Parental fraud is a very real thing, and there are men across the country paying child support for children that are not theirs, because mom put his name on the birth certificate, or on requests for assistance. She could literally force him to pay for things for the next 18 years. There has been a challenge put forward. Force the court to order a damn DNA test now, before she wrangles 18 years of support out of both of you. Tell her paternity test or shut the F up. Tell the whole family that they are cut off if she doesn't have the paternity test. They are taking her side without proof. Look, I don't believe for 1 second he is the father. But, to see that the family would openly support this woman, who is claiming to have slept with her sister's man? Throw the whole family away. I was immediately very upset and confronted Tim, who was completely shocked and said Sarah was lying. He said there's no way and he didn't cheat on me, and he would gladly have a paternity test to prove that. If he's willing to do that, there's no way he's the father. Sarah is now saying she won't give me a paternity test. Yeah, because it would expose her for the liar she is. Tell your family that Tim is perfectly willing to do a paternity test, and Sarah isn't. If your family believes her in light of that, they're too stupid to bother with, in my opinion. Also, if possible, have Tim talk to your family OP. She's saying that he loves her and you are stopping him from being with her. He can say something like, I just want to tell you all that what Sarah is saying is a lie. I have not slept with her since I was 20 years old. I have also not told her that I love her, or had any kind of relationship with her for years. And to prove that, I wanted to take a paternity test. If she continues to lie about this subject and provide fake proof, such as the screenshots that have proven to be fake and wrong date on the calendar on when they supposedly met, I will pursue legal action against her. Your daughter has severe mental issues, please get her some help. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.